Can you see my toes?
No.
That's a good. That's it. I cannot tell you how much I'm enjoying and loving this journey that I'm on with you guys. I've received so much feedback from a wide range of singers, just on how people enjoy getting a totally different angle and also hearing things from such a different perspective that it actually makes them think about it in a new way. I love that. Please remember to comment on the videos if you found it helpful. And if you have a question, ask it. I will reply and I will engage with you. I would love that. My name is Johan Bester, the founder and director of Charisma Performing Arts. And welcome to episode 5 of Voice Matters. So we've covered a bunch of foundational things so far about the voice, including how simple but profound the basic functionality of the human voice is. We also talked about some foundational vowels and showing some real love to our consonants. Gosh. If this is your first time here, I'm so glad you stopped by, but I do think it's a good idea to click the link below. That'll take you to the playlist so you can catch up on all the episodes that you've missed. It'll help you to really benefit from this series if you follow it from the beginning. Just to understand the kind of language that I'm using. Like when I talk about George and Susie, and you haven't seen that episode, you're going to go, whose grandma is that? Right? In episode 2, we talked about how every time I speak a sentence or sing a phrase, physiologically, it's just an exhale. Right? So the air that flows out gets interrupted by my 2 vocal folds, affectionately known as George and Susie, and the air makes it vibrate. So we breathe in and we exhale, our vocal folds connect, and that's how simple it is. So it's just an exhale. So obviously it is very important to you and me, as somebody who cares about our voice, to breathe properly. Because this is the statement I want you to remember from today's chat. Air is energy. The breath that flows out of my lungs creates the energy in my sound. So when I speak very softly like this, there's very little air flowing at a very slow rate. And when I speak loudly like this, there's a lot of air flowing quickly. That's exactly how it works. And again, so many people, most people that I come across, don't actually know which organ, which muscle in the body does the breathing. Most people will say, oh, my lungs breathe, which is incorrect. There is another muscle, another organ that actually does the breathing. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The organ in our body that breathes is called the diaphragm. And I know many of you knew that already. You might know by now as well that I like to give things names. So I shall henceforth refer to my diaphragm as CLIVE. Your diaphragm sucks. It literally sucks. It sucks the air into your body. I'm going to show you in a minute exactly how that works. And it's very important to understand this, because the moment you have a picture, a visual of what happens inside your body, as you also know, I like to use my hands. Remember George and Susie, right? I like to use my hands and my arms to do something physically to help me understand, to get a visual, to get a picture of how the muscles function with like inside my body. So the diaphragm starts right here under my rib line, and it sits in sort of a dome shape like this. Then when I breathe in, it stretches down and it literally sucks the air into my body. And then as I exhale, it returns, it comes back up to this position right here under my ribs to its relaxed position. Now, the word diaphragm is actually an old Greek word made up of two words. Dia, which means across, and phragma, which means barrier, which is interesting. Loosely translated, what it literally means is the thing that separates. Now, I always find it very interesting, the origin of words. Why would the Greeks have decided to choose that word to describe this muscle? I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. It's because your diaphragm is a very thin, long muscle, like I said, that sits under your rib line and goes all the way down and sort of attached to the major back muscles. Big, long, thin muscle. Not big, a long, thin muscle, okay? But it sits between your vital organs, which is heart and lungs, and above it and below it is all the rest of your intestine, your liver, your pancreas, your small intestine, your colon, everything, your kidneys, it's below that. So that's why they call it diaphragma, which means the thing that separates. Interesting, isn't it? And here's another astonishing fact that I learned from Stig. Remember Stig, the world record breath hold guy? So he spoke about how breathing, because he's a breathing genius and one of the most knowledgeable people on the planet on breathing, but he spoke about how breathing is connected to so many vital functions and processes actually in our body. But here's an amazing thing that he taught me. I never knew this. Apart from your diaphragm's function to suck air into your body, it has another vitally important function. It's a masseuse or a masseur. Depends whether you think your diaphragm is male or female. But actually, quite literally, what happens is when it stretches down, like I said, as you suck in the air, it actually pushes your lower intestine, all the rest of your organs, it pushes it down. It pushes it out of the way. Why is that? So that your lungs can fill, right? If I only breathe shallow like this, then my diaphragm only does this short little movement here. Then it's actually not doing what it should, which is massage the other organs. And very interesting, if our organs, our lower internal organs, do not get that massage daily, we get sick. They will not live as long and as healthy as they could have if I breathed deeply and properly. That is profound when you think about it. And that's why 150 years ago, we didn't have many of the sicknesses, is that a word, illnesses and diseases that we have today, because people didn't have a fast-paced, busy, crazy, hectic life where their heads were so full of stuff all the time, which actually causes people to breathe very quickly and very shallow. So, learning about the diaphragm and its functioning and singing then with good airflow and good breathing is not only good for your heart, for your soul, for your emotions, but it's actually going to make you live longer. So, it is time for a demonstration. So let me stand. I would like you to stand as well so that you can join in this with me, okay? Like I said, the diaphragm, CLIVE, sits in a dome shape under my rib line here, right? So if you pull in your stomach, you can feel your rib line there. That's exactly where it sits. So what I like to do is I put my arms here and I cover one hand with the other and I put it right here under my heart in the middle. This is where my diaphragm sits when I've exhaled. So it's in a relaxed position. Now when I inhale through my nose, slowly, this is what happens. And when I exhale, can you see what I'm doing? I'm just trying to give myself a kinesthetic awareness, the movement of the muscle. of what happens inside my body. Okay, so why don't you try that with me? Just need to take a quick look at this. By the way, when it comes to breathing, there's another saying of Stig that is one of my favorites. He said, "The nose is for breathing, the mouth is for eating." That was a terrible Swedish accent. But anyway, the nose is for breathing, the mouth is for eating. Now, the reason he says that is that we were designed to inhale through the nose. There are three very important things. You might know this, but there are three very important things that happen when we breathe in through our nose. Number one, a lot of pollution, unwanted, unhealthy particles in the air gets filtered as the air travels through my nose, so that bad stuff doesn't end up in my lungs, in my system. Yeah. Secondly, the air gets moisturized a little bit. That's why the insides of our nose, naval cavity, is wet. If we're healthy, it's wet. You know how they say a dog's nose snout should be wet, then you know the dog is healthy? Yeah, it's a similar reason. So it's wet, so it moisturizes the air, because dry air is not as good for our lungs. Our lungs don't enjoy working with dry air as much as moisturized air. And then the third thing that it does, and I didn't know this many years ago, it actually changes the temperature of the air. It makes it a little bit warmer. Phew, a lot of information, I know. But the point is, if you and I care about how we breathe as a singer or speaker, then we should understand how it works and we should exercise it, right? So I'm always going to try to give you something to go and do, something to go and practice, so you can exercise the muscles in the correct way. Now that you have information, it becomes knowledge as you exercise it, because now you know it. You didn't just hear it, information, but you know it because you felt it. You've experienced it. Right, so like I said, dome shape. So just do this with me. Come on, it'll be fun. Okay, put your hands like this. Now we're going to inhale through the nose, because I just explained why. And I want you to inhale for at least 4 or 5 seconds. Now you might think, "Nyeh," but try it. It's not normal for us to breathe in so slowly. If you sleep well, if you sleep deeply and you breathe well, then that actually happens during the night. But while we're awake, we are almost never in a place where we breathe in so slowly. So you might have to practice that. But anyway, let me show you. So we're going to breathe in slowly through the nose. Really full of air. Then I hold it and then I breathe out through the mouth. And I make that sort of sound. I want to hear the exhale. So ready? In. 1, 2, 3. And then. Notice what my hands are doing, right? Stretch down, suck in the air. Return to relaxed position as I exhale. Really simple way to just understand and feel and have that awareness of what the diaphragm is doing. And then also feeling all that massive amount of air. Like if you really do deep inhale, you feel like you're going to pop. Like it's like a very, very full sensation, which is good. So if you did that with me a few times in a row, like really deep breaths like that, you might even feel a little lightheaded. I don't know if that happened to you, but it often happens to people when we do this kind of activity. And the reason for that is that your brain literally isn't used to getting so much oxygen, because probably most of the time, most of us don't breathe properly like that. So the oxygen levels in our blood, which then goes to our brain, obviously, is also much better when we breathe in properly. Isn't that amazing? Can you understand how important it is for you and me, just not just as a singer or a speaker, but just as a human being, to understand breathing and to start thinking about it? What do I always say? We need information, knowledge, awareness, understanding. Then we can have application and it'll change your life. And another thing that you would have felt if you did some really good breathing like that, is you would have felt that it makes you feel good. Not emotionally, or a little bit, but actually it makes you feel good physiologically. Again, I touched on that in a previous episode, but I just want to remind you, it is the vagus nerve strand in our body that has this amazing function that every time we exhale, 27,000 times a day on average, every time we exhale, every cell in our body relaxes. This is the way our bodies were designed. So, if you do really deep inhales, in other words, CLIVE really sucks a lot of air and my lungs are full, then guess what? The exhale is going to take longer because there's a lot of air. So a deep inhale leads to a longer exhale. And every time I do a long exhale, my whole body relaxes. So it actually makes me feel better. It restores balance. It makes me more peaceful. It's amazing. And also that's why I feel so good when I've been singing for a while. Let's say I sing something like this. I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? That was 3 phrases. So it was 3 long exhales. So when I sing a song, generally, I'm doing 4-5 second exhales. Every line I sing is a slow exhale. Now, funny story, true story. When I was I'm still pretty young, but when I was much younger, vocal coach, oftentimes people, especially teenagers, like 14, 15, 16-year-olds, would come into a singing lesson half depressed or totally depressed. Depends on what's going on in their very complex lives. And they would come in and be all like sad. And then half an hour later, once we've had our singing lesson, or an hour later, they would leave with a smile on their face and a skip and bye, Mr. Vesta. And I literally, this honesty time, okay, I used to think, I'm good. I'm really good because I make these people feel good. I didn't know this truth then, did I, about the vagus nerve? It was actually all those long exhales during their singing lesson that made them feel good physiologically. And of course, if you feel better in your body, it makes you feel better emotionally as well. Singing is good for you. This is not a cliche, this is an actual factual truth. So here is your Voice Matters Challenge of the week. I really want you to try this. Try these things. Try it for a week. If you really engage with what I'm saying and you actually go and try the stuff that I suggest, you will see progress. I have no doubt. I know this experientially. So try this. I want you to lie down on your back, anywhere, on your bed if that's comfortable, on the floor. Some people like lying on the floor for these kinds of activities because it's really flat and hard and you can feel the other things better. Or on a couch, I don't care. But lie on your back and put your hand on your lower abdominal area, around about where your belly button is. Okay? Then you inhale slowly through the nose, like we've discussed in this episode. Like at least a 3 or 4 second inhale. Don't just go, and then that's it, okay? Slowly. Now this hand that's on your belly button, if you lie on your back and you're relaxed and you're concentrating on this process, guess what's going to happen? Remember Clive, as he sucks in the air, pushes all your lower intestine down, like out of the way. But because you have hip bones and a pelvis, it can't keep going downwards. So guess what it does? It moves forward. So when I'm lying on my back, it moves up in the air. And if you watch your hand, or just feel, just don't try to watch, just lay down with your head, but you will feel your hand rising up into the air as you inhale, slowly and deeply. And then when you exhale, your hand will move down as Clive comes back to his relaxed position under the ribs, and all the other intestines return to their normal position. That's really the best way that I can describe it. Again, I like to keep it simple for myself. Because I describe it so simple to myself, I understand it. It's not a complicated and complex thing, which is why I'm explaining it in a similar way to you. Very, very simple. It stretches down, it pushes everything out of the way, it moves out of the way, and then it moves back to where it belongs when I exhale and Clive comes back. I know there's been a lot of information in this video. And you might be going, wait, TMI, right? But good thing about YouTube is once it's there, it's always there. So you can watch it again, and I really suggest you do. As these teachings go along, I think they are more likely to become a little bit more full of information, new information. As you learn my terminology, I'll be able to build on your pre-existing understanding, right, of what I'm saying. So do watch it more than once, and pause and rewind and whatever. That is the beauty of having it there on YouTube, free, right? Which is why it's very important for you to click the like buckle. Hit the like button, please. Change the color, black or blue. Doesn't matter. Just do it. No, but really, go and watch it again and try these things. You will be amazed at how just... Every time I say amazed, my cameraman loses it, which is really concerning. So this was a very, again, basic introduction to what happens in our body when we breathe. And you and I are talking about it because we're interested in the voice and our voice and how we use our voice and using it more effectively. But also it's just good for you, for your general health and well-being and longevity of life, to breathe well. In terms of singing, we still can get a lot more technical. There are, of course, other muscles involved. There are lots of other things to talk about, which is good news because that means you and I, can have another time that we can chat about breathing, because there is more. But if you can just walk away today with understanding that your diaphragm sits there, how it works, and you can start feeling it, experiencing it as you do it correctly and naturally, then we accomplished something really great. Thanks for spending the time with me today. I hope you found it a bit interesting. I hope you heard something new, something thought-provoking. And please, leave comments, ask questions. I would love to hear from you. My name is Johan Bester, reminding you that your voice matters.